Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog Series. It's Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, and on Tuesdays we talk about music and the arts. We're talking about planets this week, and boy, I'm recording this in the wee hours of the morning because I just got sucked into one of those vortexes where I was looking at music and rediscovering music, etc. So it's been a glorious few hours, but as a result, I am sleep deprived at the moment and will be when I have to go to work in the morning, but that's okay. But before we talk about the planets or the songs that deal with planets, I should mention too that, of course, there are many groups that have planetary names or references, right? And especially when I was growing up, I mean, we had, well, this isn't really planet, but you had Bill Haley and the Comets, for example. But then you had, more specifically, you had groups like Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? From the 70s. They had a lot of hits when I was growing up. They had Rare Earth out of Detroit, Michigan. Their biggest hit, I think, was Get Ready. They also had a hit with I Just Want to Celebrate, a couple of other tunes too. More recently, we've seen groups like Walk Off the Earth from Canada. You've got the band Jimi Eat World, their big hit The Middle, which I play when I do sets. You certainly probably know the guy Pharrell Williams, right? But he's did you know he partnered with Chad Hugo back in 2003 to release an album called Clones under the name of the Neptunes. That's kind of an interesting one. You've got other planets with, other bands with other planets in their names. You get Mercury Rev out of Buffalo, the band Planet Mercury, a couple of bands out of Europe called Venus, as well as Venus and the Flytraps out of Britain. Of course, many of you would know the artist Bruno Mars, so there's an obvious connection there. You've got David Bowie's alter ego, Ziggy Stardust, with his backing band, the Spiders from Mars. The brothers Jared Leto, Jared Leto and Shannon Leto formed 30 Seconds to Mars back in 1998. And then you've got the experimental rock band Mars out of New York from the mid-1970s, and a few others with Mars in their name as well. You have Jupiter 1, which formed in New York in 2001, and then you've got Rings of Saturn, who do like death metal and instrumental rock with a focus on space themes and extraterrestrial life. And yes, there's a band called Uranus that formed right here in London, Ontario, where I am. Back in 1976, they actually released a song that became something of a hit up here in Canada, You're So Square. And they were actually inducted into the that is the London. Now we're talking about London, Ontario, Canada, but they were inducted into the London Music Hall of Fame back in 2017. And then there's an experimental hard rock band called Neptune out of Boston that formed back in 1994. They're still doing music. And so really there's no planet that's been left untouched. I mean, no planet in our solar system where their names hasn't been co-opted by somebody who said, hey, let's bring a planet into the mix here. And of course, there are countless songs that deal with the planets as well, including several with our own planet in the title directly. And so I'm not going to actually be talking about the Earth or songs about, you could do, I should actually do a separate top 10 favorite list of songs that have Earth or something like that in the title or that make references in that instance. But for now, what I'm going to do instead is simply give you my top 5 songs with different planets in their titles, okay? And obviously, I can't include something like David Bowie's Space Oddity because there's no planetary reference in that case. But it's certainly an all-time favorite song of mine. It just blew us all away when it dropped back in July of 1969. In fact, it dropped just about a week or 10 days or so before we actually, Neil Armstrong, etc., we actually reached the moon and walked on the moon for the first time. So it was an incredible sort of cultural counterpoint to, again, just the first man on the moon, that sort of thing. And I could include, however, his 1973 song, Life on Mars, but it's actually not one of my faves, okay? It expresses the classic sort of teen and cultural angst, but it's really, like Bowie so often does, it's really more of a painting or with images in the music more than, the lyrics. Some of the lyrics are pretty cool, don't get me wrong, but I've never really liked the melody all that much and how the songs actually played. There is one really cool lyric that sort of stands out, though, when Bowie sings, "Now the workers have struck for fame, because Lennon's on sale again." Lennon, meaning John Lennon. I find that interesting because that's in '73 when that song came out, and then just 2 years later, of course, Bowie released one of his biggest hits by the name of Fame, and John Lennon provided the backing vocals on that particular track. So that's kind of cool. And I guess I could also mention from that era, you've got Paul McCartney and his album Venus and Mars. And there's actually a song, Venus and Mars. It's a sweet little ditty. It's not even 90 seconds long. So, yeah, I'm not going to include that one either in my top five. Where I am going to start, though, I'm going to lead off my top five with Jimi Hendrix. Yes, that Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, we're going to go back to the classic rock, psychedelic rock era of Hendrix and his Valleys of Neptune. Not one of his best known songs, or not one of his best songs, but I really like this. I really love Mitch Mitchell's drumming, right? He's the drummer, and I love the way that he syncs so incredibly well with Hendrix. And I have to think that I don't know if you know the Canadian rock band Rush. I have to think that they must have been influenced by this kind of music and the tightness between the guitar and the drums and so on. And I think Rush, sort of forged their unique sound in the realm of what we'd call progressive rock. But I can definitely see, some learning, some borrowing, some influence, if you will, from the Hendrix experience. And then let's stay in, for number four, let's stay in the 1960s, the tail end of the 60s. And I'm going to go with Venus by Shocking Blue. Again, the song, they're a Dutch band. And that song went all the way to number one back in '69. And it's just got, I just love the guitar sound that they get there at the beginning and periodically throughout the song. And yeah, I'm still digging that vibe that they create all these years later. So it's nice solos, etc. So it's a song that's aged, I think, quite well, and would fit in, in a lot of different eras, shall we say. Okay, at number three, I'm going to get a little bit schmaltzy here, but I'm going to go with Drops of Jupiter by the band Train. A lot of you will know this one, I think. It peaked at number 5 on the Hot 100 back in 2001. And I know they've had some other hits too, but I really like the storytelling in this particular song and the almost playfulness of the song, if you will. And it's just one of those songs, it has multiple hooks, and I always find myself sort of singing along with the song, trying to remember the words at the same time. I never remember them all, but I really enjoy it, and the na-na-nas and so on. So yeah, I really like that one. Fun fact about that song too, it took the longest to get into the top 10 of any song that eventually made it to the top 10. It took 49 weeks before it finally crept into the top 10. So yeah, it was a long, slow climb, but I guess you just got to be patient. And then at number two, I'm going to go with a very different kind of song, and a lot of you won't. Well, some of you will know this artist, but I definitely recommend her. It's a song called "Venus as a Boy" by Bjork, the Icelandic singer, and really a unique act, I think, in so many ways. And I love this particular song because it creates just a certain ambiance that is really powerful. And it's very artistic, like so much of Bjork's work. And it's very unusual, almost experimental kind of music. And I can see why my son, CxViolet, as an artist, likes her music and has clearly been influenced by her music as well. So if you were to listen to some of his experimental music, you'd see an obvious connection, especially with this song and other songs of Bjork's. But this one really stands out. And when I'm listening to this song by Bjork, I'm also not just listening to Bjork's vision and painting, but I'm thinking of CxViolet's music as well. So I'll leave a link again in the descriptions below. But I love, I love the tenor of this song, and she sings on many occasions, "He believes in beauty." And there's this glorious, stunningly beautiful message that comes through Venus as a Boy by Bjork. So yeah, have a listen if you haven't heard this. Yeah, and you have to be in the right mood. It's a different kind of song, but it's really, really cool, I think. Okay, and I'm going to get to number one. A couple of honorable mentions. So I got to mention Coldplay again, "Moving Up to Mars." It's another really nice tune. It has a particularly smooth electric guitar solo that kind of takes you away with it as you're listening towards the end of the song. So that's pretty cool. But it's a soft, gentle song. Again, very much in line with the Coldplay style, but a little bit of a twist, if you will. There's the Stone Temple Pilots' First Kiss on Mars. And I mentioned this one too because it sounds like they're channeling David Bowie, both in terms of the sound of the vocals and just the overall vibe of the song as well. I could easily see that song fitting back with, or being, on one of Bowie's early mid-70s records as well. All right, and so finally, I'm just going to mention my number one song, and this is probably going to surprise some of you, but it's a relatively new song. And it's by a group called White Lies, and it's called I Don't Want to Go to Mars. Again, I don't know if you've heard the song, but I think it's an incredibly cool kind of alt-rock type of song with a really powerful message. Kind of a rejection, if you will, of Elon Musk's dream of going to Mars. So, I mean, I'm not going to get into politics around all of that, but I love space exploration and the possibilities. But at the same time, they're singing about, hey, is that really the solution? Is that really the answer to all of Earth's problems and so on? So I'll give you a little bit of a taste of the lyrics, but you really should have a listen. I don't want to go to Mars. What kind of brainwashed idiot does? I love that. It's all a lab rat life in jars. They branded the dream of ages. I don't want to go to Mars. Be with me here and return to dust. We can borrow your parents' car and take it to all our places. So yeah, it's not a conventional rhyming scheme and so on, but if you listen to this in the context of the song, it works really, really well. I think it only came out just a few years ago. I think in 2022. Should have double checked that, but yeah, if you haven't heard it before, again, I'll leave links to all of these in the description below. But it's I Don't Want to Go to Mars by White Lies. All right, so that's it for today, and we'll continue to look at the planets from a variety of different angles as well the rest of the week. And as ever, in the meantime, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow.